Every NBA fan loves certain players and has their own favorite player for certain reasons. Whether you like the way a guy plays or they play for your hometown team. But then there's certain players that are mutually loved and respected by nearly every NBA fan. Players that for whatever reason have earned the respect of NBA fans across the world. And today we're going to be looking at 8 of these players. But before we do that, we got 2 honorable mentions. First, the legend Brian Scalabrine. The only man on this list, or in NBA history, that led his team to a championship without having to step a single foot on the court. The only man to average 3 points a game for his career, but get cheered every time he touched the ball, and get the occasional MVP chant.
Fans reacting to Brian Scalabrine, who's getting the ball for the first time in the first. Scalabrine off the glass and in.
But seriously, he's one of the most meme-ified basketball players there is. But whether he's loved as a joke or not, he's one of the most popular certified bench riders in NBA history. And it all started as a joke because he barely got any playing time, and then when he did, it was usually towards the end of games. So then when he'd finally touch the ball, the crowds would go wild. Scal's got a great sense of humor about it, and he plays along with the fact that he's a living, breathing meme. He's a white guy with red hair, so he doesn't look like your typical NBA player. And I think an accurate way of describing Brian Scalabrine is as the Chuck Norris of the NBA. And then the second honorable mention is Nate Robinson. A lot of people could relate to Nate Robinson because he's the size of your average human being. And fans love to root for the underdog. But Nate wasn't just loved for being short. He's loved for being short and being able to do things like this. At only 5'9", he's a 3-time dunk champion, and he's one of the most athletic NBA players in league history. His small size, his incredible highlight plays, and his performances in the dunk contest are just a few reasons that everyone loves Nate Robinson. He was a bench player for most of his career, and right now he's 33 years old, and there's definitely a lot of people that want to see him back in the NBA and think that he deserves a spot. Now on to the actual list. Number 8, Yao Ming. Yao Ming wasn't a lot of Americans' fans' favorite, but he was a favorite across the entire world. He was a first overall pick and helped expand the NBA on a global level. He made huge strides for the league in the Asian market because so many fans loved him. Just to show how popular he was in Asia, in his rookie season, for the first time the NBA opened up All-Star voting in Chinese, and he received over 250,000 more votes than Shaq, who was just coming off of his three-peat with the Lakers. So as a rookie, he started the All-Star game over Shaq. And then in another instance, Yao was a part of one of the most watched NBA games in history, when himself and Yi Jianlian played each other for the first time. Over 200 million people watched the game in China alone. And then off the court, he's had global partnerships with companies like McDonald's, Apple, Visa, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi. And he's been described as one of the most popular Chinese celebrities of all time. Number 7, Vince Carter. Vince has been one of everyone's favorite players ever since the 2000 dunk contest and when he dunked over a 7-foot tall grown man in the Olympics. He's made a career out of being one of the greatest dunkers in NBA history. He was always one of the more popular players in the NBA, and he would casually do things in game that other guys couldn't even dream of doing. He's definitely gonna go down as one of the greatest players to never win an NBA championship. And just like Dirk, he just finished his 20th season in the NBA, and even though he's not nearly the player or the dunker that he used to be, he's still loved and respected by fans and players everywhere. Number 6, Tim Duncan. Duncan would always get criticized for being a boring player or even a boring person. He never had much to say, but he was still one of, if not the greatest power forward in NBA history. He never caused any problems, played for 20 years, and helped the Spurs win 5 NBA championships. Which is why players and fans everywhere have so much respect for Tim Duncan, unless you're Kevin Garnett. He was always one of the most mature players, a true leader, and has been part of some of the great moments in NBA history. Tim Duncan's one of those guys that's done nothing to lead anyone to hate him, and he was just so good on the court for so long that fans everywhere had no choice but to love and respect him. Number 5, Dirk Nowitzki. Like Vince Carter, Dirk just finished his 20th season in the NBA. He's having one of the longest careers in the history of the league. and he's been a part of some great teams and has been a 13-time NBA All-Star. If fans don't love Dirk, then they at least respect him for how well he's been able to play for so long. His stats and his playing time have declined in recent years, but for the most part he's remained consistent, and he's still averaged over 21 points a game for his career, and he's a surefire Hall of Famer. He's a former MVP, and he's won over so many fans' respect with things like his game-changing fadeaway, and when he led the Mavs to beating LeBron and the Miami Heat in the 2011 NBA Finals. All of that, combined with the fact that he's been loyal to one team for over 20 years, is another reason that fans love and respect Dirk Nowitzki. Number 4. Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is one of the most popular players of all time. He was a 6'9" point guard that could play every position, and this, combined with his overall dominance, was what helped him gain the respect of NBA fans and players everywhere. That, on top of the fact that he's one of the nicest NBA players out there, proves why he's one of the most loved NBA players of all time. Magic's rivalry with Larry Bird was what helped the NBA become what it is today. Because before their rivalry started, the NBA had been going through over 10 years of declining TV ratings, and they'd been losing interest. But when it started, they instantly won over an entire generation of fans. And there's a lot of fans and people within the NBA that say their rivalry was what saved the NBA. Number 3. Kobe and LeBron. Kobe Bryant and LeBron James also made the list for the 7 most hated players, but they've made this list too because they're controversial players. They're loved by some and hated by others. For a long time when both guys played in the NBA, you were either a Kobe Bryant fan or a LeBron James fan. And if you liked one, you usually hated or act like you hated the other. There's reasons why you could hate Kobe, but there's even more reasons to love him. He's one of the all-time greats, and he's the closest thing we've ever seen to Michael Jordan. He had a killer instinct that not many other players have, that made his games incredible to watch, and that attitude helped him to win 5 NBA championships. Oh, and he did the impossible and scored 81 points against the Raptors. He had his own retirement tour his last year in the league, and he got respect from most every team, player, and fan along the way. He's created some legendary moments in NBA history and went out with 61 against Utah, giving fans a reason to miss him, and the league just hasn't been the same without Kobe Bryant. And then as for LeBron James, he was hated and his jerseys were burned when he left for Miami, but all of that helped him to create one of the greatest stories in sports history, with him bringing the Cleveland Cavaliers a championship. But his longevity and his dominance in the NBA have earned him the respect and the love from NBA fans everywhere. Number 2. Stephen Curry. Steph Curry is one of, if not the most loved player in the NBA today, and he's for sure one of the most loved in NBA history. Steph's breakout game came on February 27th, 2013 when he torched the Knicks, scoring 54 points. That was the day he really showed what he was capable of, and ever since then, he's become a fan favorite for his insane range, his deadly shot, and his flashy plays. He can hit shots from anywhere on the court, and he became one of the most exciting and fun players to watch in the NBA. So much so that the NBA even records his pregame warm-up and always catches his pregame ritual of hitting a shot from the stands before every NBA game. In 2015, he won the three-point contest, his first MVP, and an NBA championship. He plays with a style that no one's ever seen before, and he's single-handedly reinventing the game as we know it. He's one of the very few players that's been able to change the way the game of basketball is played as a whole. He's loved for his success and his style of play, but the fact that he came out of high school and college as an underdog has only made fans love his story even more. Number 1. Michael Jordan. This is an easy one. Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. He had pretty close to a perfect career and some of the flashiest, craziest highlight moments of all time. He might not have been loved by some of his teammates or any of the other teams, but he's a fan favorite across the world. He's not just the most loved basketball player of all time, but he's one of the most loved athletes in sports history. Not just for what he did on the court, but also for what he's doing off the court with his Nike and his Jordan shoe brand. There's only a handful of athletes that are as loved and respected as Michael Jordan on a worldwide level. But that's it for the 8 most loved NBA players of all time. So if you like this video, I can guarantee you're going to like the videos I have coming up. So definitely like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. And I'll catch you next time.